Today, I want to talk about salary and specifically about that question you get, what's your expected salary? You get it on the application, you get it with the recruiter, you might even get it with the hiring official. I've got the ultimate comebacks for you today, but in order to make it so that you understand why I want you to do what I want you to do. Then I'm going to give you the instruction of what the comebacks are. And then I'm going to tell you what not to do. I want to make sure. I could probably give you the 5 comebacks in 90 seconds, but I need you to understand what they are and how to use them and when to use them. So in full Andy fashion, we're going to go through the whys and the wherefores first. And then we're going to hit the how-tos, and then we're going to hit the just don't do these. Okay? Who's stoked? Give me an I'm stoked in the chat. If you are with me, put pound money magnet. I'm a money magnet in the chat. Come on. And if you're watching this on the recording, hit me in the comments. Okay. So y'all know what the question is. Most of you, you start tensing up, you start sweating, you start worrying about going too low and leaving money on the table or going too high and bouncing yourself out. And why don't we just springboard right from there? What is it that when an employer is asking you this question, what is it that they're trying to do? They want to make sure that you fit into their salary bucket. But I'm telling you, as someone, literally as an executive recruiter who has negotiated more than 600 employment agreements, and as a career coach that I've been doing this for the last 10 years, who's worked with individuals around the world for more than another 1,000 employment agreements and salary negotiation, the coaching sessions, the feedback, and all that good stuff, 1,700 or so odd data points, I'm telling you, I know what works. And the one thing that you do not want to do in the beginning is give them a number. But let's talk about why you don't want to and how to actually be evasive effectively to make it work in your favor so that when it does come time to actually negotiate your salary, you have the best negotiating leverage possible. All right, there's a number of reasons why I want you to be evasive, and I will be specific about what I mean by being evasive, but the reason I don't want you to actually give them an expected salary are these reasons, the following reasons. There's a whole bunch, but I picked, 4 or so that I like. Number one, top thing, that's supposed to be a bullseye, but I didn't have time to actually draw the arrow. Okay, you're gonna miss. You're gonna miss the bullseye. That's the first thing. Is you're either going to go too low and leave money on the table or position yourself in a hole that you're going to have to work out of over the course of the interview process, or you're going to go too high. And if you go too high, you might price yourself out. The other thing I need you to know is at any moment in time, there's no such thing as market pay. Yes, you could do your research. Yes, you can gather some intel. Yes, you can look at some job descriptions and you can see what these similar functions are paying at different organizations. But those are total guesses. They don't know what they're actually going to need to pay to get the exact right person into their organization when they need that person. And you also don't know how much pain they're in. Maybe they've tried 3 other people and they've tried to do it on the cheap and they think they can continue to do that when they simply can't. Or maybe they have old market data. Maybe they had a company who runs surveys, who gathers the data, or maybe they're using Glassdoor or God only knows what, and they don't have a really good understanding. It's just like selling a house or a car. This house right now lists on Zillow and Realtor and all those other places, Redfin and wherever else you look, and there's some number there. Right, but that's not actually what I'm going to sell my house for if I was to do that. I don't know how motivated the buyer is. They don't know how motivated I am, right? There might be some other things that need to be fixed up and we need to negotiate. That number's going to change. And the only thing that you're going to be sure of is what it's going to sell for on the day it transacts. So that's number one. Number two, this is a biggie. Your stock is at its lowest point if you ultimately get an offer with them, meaning if you actually end up getting an offer in the screen with a recruiter, your stock should officially be your lowest point in the interviewing process. Why? They do not know you, right? They see you on paper. Maybe they're excited about your background, but they don't know what you can do. And so if your stock is highest and it goes down, you're not going to need to worry about what you tell them as your expected salary because you're not going to get a job offer because you're going in the wrong direction. You want your stock to build and you want to negotiate when your leverage is the highest. Here, show of hands. I don't know how many people are here. It's probably a whole bunch. Okay, maybe 100 have joined me on time. Has anybody, you go in the chat right now, I'm going to look. Has anybody actually gone to dear old Coach Andy's YouTube channel? Remember the very first video you ever watched of mine? It could have been last week's. It could have been one I put out 10 years ago or in 2016. Imagine the first video. And then I want you to imagine not just the first video of mine that you've seen, but the first, let's say, 60 seconds. Is there anybody in this entire, either with me live or watching me on the recording, that said, damn, after 60 seconds, I got to reach in my pocket, pull out $1,000 and buy this guy's boot camp? No, right? I had to earn your trust. You kept watching replays, or maybe you came to the live shows. Some of you just watching. You probably watched thousands of hours of my stuff. And some of you, it's taken tens of hours or hundreds of hours before you reached in your pocket and pulled out a measly $7 to buy an interview book. You know what I'm saying? This is exactly what I mean. So I want you to remember, next time you're in a recruitment screen and they say, what's your expected salary? I want you to remember that little analogy I gave you about, would you actually pay anything after you watched any of my stuff for 60 seconds only? So I want you to think about that. You want to work your way through the interview process, and you want to negotiate when your stock is the highest, and it is not, I assure you, in the recruitment screen. Next thing, the recruiter. Recruiters are nice people, but they cannot say yes. They can only say no, meaning they can say, no, I'm not moving forward with you. You're out. But they can't say, yes, you're hired. They can say, yes, I'm going to move you forward. Now, unless you're interviewing with the head of recruitment and you're a recruiter and you're going to work on his or her team. But most of the time, let's say 99% of the time, the recruiter can only say no. They cannot say yes. And I'm not negotiating with anybody who can only say no. So I don't want to get entangled with somebody whose job it is to filter. I want to get past the recruiter, and then I will deal with the negotiation through the interviewing process. And at the end, when I get the offer and I make my counteroffer, when I build my stock up over the course of the interviewing process. So the goal is to get by the recruiter. The stretch goal is to get by the recruiter and set yourself a wonderful table so that the recruiter loves you so much that they turn to the hiring official and say, this is it. We found her. Call off the dogs. We got her. This is the one. Right? Sets a table for you. So I don't want you to negotiate or give that number because of that. And then probably most importantly are the 5 variables. There are always, that's not some of the time, it's always. There are always 100% of the time 5 key factors, 5 influential factors, 5 influences, 5 variables that are malleable from the time you start till the time you finish the interview process. I'm going to run through them at like 2 times speed, and then I'm going to give you some more information where you can find out more. Here's what's at play every time you walk into an organization where you're considering being hired or they're considering hiring you. They have goals, they have problems, they have a solution in mind, they have a profile in mind, and a cost in mind. Let's run through these really quickly. They have goals. I want you to achieve so much revenue in the first year, so much market expansion in the first year. A goal could be within the first year, within the first month. I want to go this high. I want to go this high. So whatever the goals are, I want you to reduce the costs. I want you to do them for this cheaply. I want you to do it in this time frame. Those are goals, right? Those are metrics, KPIs. Then they have obstacles standing in their way. All right, the more you can influence their attainment of the goal, the greater the likelihood they're going to pay you more. If I want 10 leads a day from my marketing engine, but you could give me 100, why wouldn't I pay maybe not 10 times, but a lot more, right? So it's malleable. Then I've got problems. I've got specific problems that I need to overcome in order to achieve the goals. If you've solved my exact problems before, you know exactly where to look, exactly how to solve them, the fastest way to solve them, the cheapest way to solve them, you're worth more to me than somebody who's not encountered it before. So the more exact the problems are that you've solved, the greater the likelihood I'm more attracted to you. If all I did was coach women between 45 and 50 years old in the state of California, and that's all I did, and I knew every imaginable problem that women between 45 and 50 could have and how to overcome every single issue, wouldn't that make me more attractive? Now, I like to think of myself as a holistic coach, and I've seen lots of problems at a very deep level, but you get the idea. The more narrow you are, the better you are. Okay, the solution. I might have a solution in mind. This is the way I want you to get me my marketing leads. Circulate more videos of mine. Go do Facebook ads. You say, well, yeah, that might be a solution, except I could actually do it cheaper. I could do it faster. I could do it for less money than you think. Or we don't need to put that system in. We could do an iterative process where this manual process goes in first, then we go with this cheap solution, then we evolve here. This way it'll be more economical. You'll get better results faster. Great. Well, you just changed my answer. Did you make it better? Was the solution more difficult than I anticipated? It's possible. More difficult solution might require someone with more years of experience, or I might really need somebody who knows how to address those problems. Okay, the profile. What's that? Job description maybe, or what I think it is in my head. Maybe it's somebody who's about 8 years into their career, who's done this for a couple years, who's maybe managed people for a year, who knows how to run this technology software or this platform or whatever. Okay, well, maybe you can show them that no, your problem is worse than you think. No 8-year person's going to be able to handle that. You're going to need a 15-year person who knows this, this, and this. Or maybe it's not as complicated as I thought, and you're a 5-year person who could do the job. Well, you could change the profile. You could change the scope of the role. You could reduce some of the responsibilities. You could add responsibilities. And then there's the cost, which is ultimately variable. Well, if all of these things are at play, how on earth are you going to hit a bullseye when you meet somebody for 60 seconds who asks you what it's going to take for you to join them or leave your job, or what are you willing to take? You are clueless when it comes to these things. You might understand the goals, but you don't understand the rest. So you have the entire interview process to move these in your favor. Now, that's all I want to say on this, with the exception of, if you'd like more, couple videos I love. 5 ways to get paid more salary when interviewing. It's free. It's on my YouTube channel. Here's another one that I love. What every job seeker needs to know about negotiating salary. Go check those videos out. I think you'll really enjoy them. All right. We're through the why part. Can I just show of hands? Have I convinced you? Giving a number ain't a good idea? It isn't. Give me a show of hands. Drinking iced tea today and water. I got the yellow going. I got the orange going. Okay. All right. Now let's get into the what part in how-tos. All right. You're going to ask me, and so I'm going to tell you. You're going to say, but coach, before I could even get into the interview, they asked me on the application. First thing I'm going to tell you is you shouldn't be filling out applications. You should be boss hunting, but that's for another day. When you get to the application, if against every fiber of my being, you actually put an application in and it says desired salary. All I want you to do, because no one in their right mind is going to hold you to that because you know nothing about them, is just put something in that's near what you currently earn. Okay? Just or recently earned. All right. Don't argue with me on this one. If there's a drop down where you say, well, coach, they're making me pick a number, meaning it says 50,000 to 54,999. It says 55,000 to 59,999. Go pick something. Pick something that's close to what you were earning. Or other option, there's an open field. The open field could require a number, or it could be free-form text. If it's free-form text and it's legit free-form text, you just put the words open, O-P-E-N, that's it. Or if you want to be really fancy, you could put the word negotiable in there. Okay. If you say, well, no, they don't let me put any letters, I have to put numbers and dollar signs and whatever, then you put $1 and that's it. Don't worry, they understand what that means. They're not going to hire you just for $1. They know that means you're open, but their silly system made you put a number. Okay, so I covered that one. That's all I'm going to say on that subject. Please don't ask me any questions when we go to the Q&A about that. Okay, now I'm going to take you through. I thought long and hard about this, people. I'm going to take you through the evolutionary process of what a dialogue looks like with a recruiter. Okay? Who's not totally stoked about this? All right. First thing is they ask you, hey, Michael Doppert, what's your expected salary? And Michael Doppert's going to say, because he goes to the school of Coach Andy and he knows all things economical, he's going to say, I'm open. You could just say, I'm open if you want to be brief. Or you could go look up on YouTube my expected salary script that says, I'm open. I'm actually open. Sure, money's important and more's always nicer. And while it's important, it's not the only thing. I'm really interested in joining your company. There's what I get to do, who I get to do it with. I'm sure you've got training, benefits, right? If I got a great mentor, say whatever you want as far as what you desire. And I'm sure if we're right for each other, we'll be able to come to something amenable, agreeable, whatever you want to say. That's the I'm open script. That's the first deflection. Okay? That's it. Then what's going to happen? Show of hands. How many people have been in an interview with a recruiter and you use dear old Coach Andy's open script and then they said, no. They started turning as pink as those pink wavy hands in the chat right now. You're going to say, second thing you're going to do is what? You're going to give them the open script again. That's number 2. You're going to say, no, I'm really open. Honestly, when you do that, half of them will say, okay, I get it. All right. The other half, or 90%, I don't care. It doesn't matter, are going to say, no, I really need a number. Otherwise, we can't go forward. Right? Does this happen to anybody? Pink wavies? Okay. You give them the I'm open again. One nudge. Okay? Then what happens? Then they say, no. Now they go from pink to wonderful shades of amber and rose and red and whatever, right? Purple. Okay. Here's what I want you to do then. I want you to make a statement. These are all statements. I just am calling your attention to the fact that I am making statements, not asking questions or giving answers. I want to call your attention to that, and I'm explaining exactly why I want you to do what I want you to do. I want you to say, okay, I see this is important to you. That makes sense because you want to make sure that we're in sync. I totally get it. I assume you have a budget. If you can let me know what that is, I'll confirm that it's within my range. Those were all questions. I didn't say, what is your budget? I made a statement. So the third thing you're going to do is I assume you have a budget script. It's statements. You're going to make statements. Now I'm going to tell you exactly why I want you to make statements and not ask questions. First thing is when you ask a question to anyone, even a friend, but especially somebody who doesn't know you and you're in this exchange, when you ask a question, it triggers a defensive scan in your brain. The anterior cortex kicks in and the person is literally assessing risk. It happens in a split second. It's a stress response. It happens quickly. And they're thinking, oh, I don't want to give up information, right? What are they trying to get from me? So I want you to know that questions literally trigger those kind of responses. All right, so that's the first thing. The second thing I want you to know about statements is that when you make a statement, it has truly the opposite effect because statements, especially those where there is an implied understanding or a mutual agreement or social alignment, that hits the prefrontal cortex. And what sits there? Connection and empathy. Their guard goes down. You just said, I see, that makes sense. You want to make sure we're in sync. You just said to that person, that's smart. You're smart. I think you're intelligent for asking me that question, even though you think they're a total bonehead at this point, right? Okay, so when you have that shared perspective, they are more likely going to give you the information. So that's what I want you to do. That's the I assume script. Now, some of you are going to say, well, geez, coach, I asked them for the budget. And while I didn't do it as fancy as you told me, I asked them and they said, no, we don't give our budgets out. Okay, coach has got another one for you. Statements again. Okay, that's fair. As part of getting ready for the interview, I took a look at your job descriptions and all your competitors' job descriptions and for similar positions. I noticed their ranges was from X to Y. Statement, stop, that's it. I assume yours is within that range. Okay, now another thing's going to happen. You're still in social alignment. You still called them intelligent. They're going to do one of a couple things. The natural inclination, if you're wrong, is to correct you. They're going to want to correct you. You could be slightly wrong or you could be way off. Okay, if you're slightly wrong, here's what they're going to say. Ours are in that range, maybe a little higher. Ours are in that range, maybe a little lower. Or, well, for our function, without knowing what job descriptions you looked at, our range is this. The top of our range is this. Or something like that. It will be impossible for them not to want to correct you. So that's what's going to happen there. I assume yours are similar. Statement. You have not asked a question. You made a statement, and then you paused for them to fill it in. All right, now you're dealing with the absolute worst recruiter of all time because they've already chewed up 15 minutes of your interview trying to get you through the expected salary to no fault of your own. But ours really varies. The range is really wide. It's really wide. It's like a $150,000 swing. I need a number from you. The next thing I want you to say is, okay, I've done similar work in the past. For similar positions, I've generally earned, or you could say the employers paid me from X to Y. Okay, that's the based on similar roles. X to Y, same kind of thing. They're going to want to correct you. But remember, you made a statement. You didn't say, this is my expected salary. You said, I used to earn. Now, some of you right now are freaking out because you think, Coach, what if I tell them what I used to earn? Well, first off, who cares? It's irrelevant. It doesn't even matter. I will tell you exactly how much money I earn. If you want to negotiate with me, it has no bearing on how much you're going to pay me to do this job that we're going to talk about for the next 5 weeks. Negotiation power comes from here and here. That's first. Second thing is you didn't tell them that that's what you're expecting, and it doesn't matter what you were paid previously. And what you will come to discover through the 5 factors, when you go through your 5 factors, you are immediately going to gain more information. So anything that is discussed in the first session is going to be out the window. New information means I get to have a new opinion. And if I now have a clear understanding of what the role is, the value you're going to attach to the key performance metrics that you and I are going to agree to, whatever we talked about 5 weeks ago, we live in a whole new world. Okay, so when you get down to here, you are essentially, they're fatigued. They got a number. They're going to check a box. You're just going to say, that's great. If they say, okay, we're in the right box, fine, move on. Okay, if you have to go this deep, first off, I don't even get this. Meaning, I don't know why anybody, meaning the recruiters, would want to go to this much trouble to get you to sign off on something that you're not even signing in blood. But this is what I would do, not round number 5. Okay, now, some of you, despite my wonderful teaching here today, are going to give them an expected salary anyway, and you're going to blurt it out. You're going to panic. You're going to freak out. You're going to come to a coaching session with Dear Coach. You're going to tell me this, and then we're going to laugh because it's the judgment-free zone. But if you give an expected salary, or you did everything I wanted to, you did all the statements, you had all the social alignment going for you, but they still assumed you were giving them an expected salary, wouldn't you know, I got a video on YouTube, how to negotiate a job offer after giving your expected salary. That means if you told them I want 100 and they gave you 100 and you still want to go up, you can still go up. So there's a video on that. All right, so far, so good. Now, let me get to the things I don't want you to do. Number 1 is I don't want you to give a number. Second thing is I don't want you given the range, okay? No good can come of this. So it's just a reminder, please don't do that. No F words, please, okay? I'm not talking about the F word that you're probably thinking. I'm talking about it's fine. Don't use it's fine. Don't use the F word ever in any interview for any question you get asked. You seem really highly qualified. Are you okay with doing this work? I'm fine with that. That's bad. That's code for you do not have a job offer coming. Okay, the other word that's just like fine is the O word. I'm okay with that. No, it's great. It's awesome. It's even better than I expected, or it's something like that. Warmth, love, competence, everything is on a higher plane. So don't do any of this, because then they think, well, you're settling and you're not really fine with it. Is anybody married? I mean, does anybody use the F word in the marital relations? And does everybody know that so does not mean fine? Okay, it's the same thing in a job interview. Okay, so let's recap it real quick. I don't want you giving them any information up front. You'll miss, your stock's not the highest, the recruiter can only say no, and there are the 5 variables. The process I want you to go through throughout the expected salary process on the application, just put something near what you recently earned. It's totally fine. There's the I'm open script for 1 and 2. You give it to them, they push, you push back, that's okay. Don't worry, they'll turn red, that's fine. I assume you have budget script, go with that. I always want you making statements. You want prefrontal, not anterior, not in the middle of the head, okay? With your competitors, X to Y, based on similar work I've done. Cool? 27 minutes, pretty good. Maybe a little less when I cut out the front part, but if you enjoyed this, please click the thumbs up button, the like button, it's better known as. Make sure you subscribe to the station. Please share this because people need help. If you are here with me live, we're going to the Q&A. If you're watching this on the recording, I'll see you next week.